He speaks to where humankind is today. Not a god in my book. Followed by MIT training engineer Brent Phillips, who spent years studying with various master healers and spiritual teachers to discover principle underlying a malicious instant healing, financial abundance, and enlightenment. On Art Bell, Somewhere in Time, we'll go back to July 16th, 1996, and I think I was listening to this program, and was probably broadcasting it on my former station, featuring special vampire open lines. Yeah. Sunday night, February 22nd, over 3 decades ago, eminent scientist Jacques Vallée wrote a provocative book about alleged UFO landings. Be talking about this on a future show. A certain unexplained phenomenon. He joins George Knapp in the first half to discuss the original groundbreaking work, Passport to Magonia, which changed our understanding of the UFO phenomenon. And the latter half, Ray Stanford, who has investigated the Socorro UFO landing over 40 years ago, shares not only the details he presented in his seminal 70s book, Socorro Saucer, but new evidence has just been uncovered. So that's be a good show. We're going to do that one on a future Way Out There. Got to. Monday, February 23rd, Mark Goodman worked on FBI's Futurist in Residence at LAPD BCOP and the Interpol and the UN advisors of over 70 countries on cybercrime and cyber terrorism. Another good show coming up for Way Out There. He's going to discuss the next frontier of cybercrime. Next frontier of cybercrime, from internationally crowdsourced robberies to how the future identity theft on your newly digitized medical records, to how biometrics are going to backfire on us. Gotta listen to this show. Be having this one on a future Way Out There. And then the first hour guest is going to be Professor Jim Bell. Now he's an active planetary scientist who has been heavily involved in the many NASA robotic space exploration missions. And he'll talk about, this ought to be good. He's going to talk about, lost my space there. I lost my space here. He'll talk about these missions, including the whole story of the Voyager spacecraft and its scientific discoveries. Okay, that's all hosted by George Norrie, if I don't otherwise mention the guest host. Usually do that. It's only so that you don't confuse as to who's going to be on. Okay, and that's pretty much how that goes. Wednesday, February 25th, filmmaker, author, and researcher David Wilcox will discuss ancient civilization, consciousness, science, and new paradigms to matter energy. Another one I don't agree with. David will also share scientific and spiritual information about soul growth. What is soul growth? Okay, I'm not going to go with this one. And ascensions into the consciousness of consciousness. Okay. First half, guest investigates journalist and retired police investigator who's going to specialize in the crash scenes and the forensic investigations. And James Sanders will discuss the latest on the missing MH370, which I thought they kind of found, didn't they? I would have thought they would have found that by now. But they've been looking. There's still an investigation as to how that plane disappeared in the first place. But that'll be a good subject for Carl. Well, we'll check that one out. That's going to be a good show. And let's see. Finally, let's see what's going on Thursday. Oh, yeah. What we missed this week, we didn't touch Linda Moulton House Earth Files, but we will have it on the next edition of the Gary Rustin, the Way Out There show. But she's going to be on next Thursday on Coast to Coast. She has important news updates about attorney Pat Frasgona, I hope I pronounced that right, John Burroughs, on guests to obtain classified files relating to UFO-related radiation in Rendlesham Forest in December of 1980. And then Linda will also have an update on the investigator Jamie Mousson about his May 5th public presentation in Mexico City of the 1947 era Kodachrome color slides that show an alleged dead small non-human being from Roswell region UFO crash. That's next Thursday night on Coast to Coast. So I'll be talking about that on the next Way Out There next month here on GJRB. So I'll be working on that show. It's going to be a good one. 3-hour extravaganza for that show, because we're going to go back to my full-length show. Okay, this was kind of an British abbreviated edition, mainly because I had a lot to do today, and I couldn't go on time. So I didn't get really a chance to put together the show. So unfortunately, I started late, and that's why I'm ending late, in an abbreviated show because of that. So, but the next Way Out There will be Friday. Next Way Out There will be Friday, March 20th, and we'll be on the air at 1 o'clock Central Time. 1 o'clock Central Time, right after the last 7 days. All programs and program announcements on GJRB subject to change and can change. And if there's any change at all, I will have a GJRB schedule update podcast. As a matter of fact, I got one in the workings for next week, because I got a podcast next week. I'll be recording the podcast for the Best of the Gary Rustin program, and I'll have that up next weekend. And then along with that next weekend, I will also have a GJRB podcast, schedule update podcast. The schedule update podcast, a program schedule updates right here on GJRB, because I got a brand new schedule and I'm working on that right now. I've been in the midst of getting that scheduled and putting it on the wall calendar for my wife to see as well. So I'm going to be working on getting that schedule update worked on, so that you're aware of the schedule, I'm aware of the schedule, and that's how it goes. And of course, like I said, all programs are subject to change and can change, and when I do, I will announce it here on GJRB, okay, so that you know what's going on as far as that's concerned. All right, and I just do that as a public service to let you know what programs we're airing and what days. And that's what the podcast schedule update is. It's so that if there's any change in programming from the original schedule, then I air it right here on GJRB. I do it. I upload the podcast with the new schedule up on it, so that you know what days we're on, and the schedule has changed, so that the day you get on here and I thought Gary was supposed to be on, they'll say, oh yeah, he changed that. Okay. So that's the reason why I do the GJRB schedule update podcast, so that you know what's coming up. Now, on the next Way Out There, I got a good show lined up for you. Catch a lot of stuff we didn't do today, including Linda Moulton House Earth Files. We're going to talk about a lot of the stuff where she's going to talk about next Thursday. And then Ed Danes, remote viewer, he got some predictions. We're going to bring it to you. I'm going to get a hold of Ed Danes. I'd like to see if I can get him on this show. But if I don't, I've got a recording of some really interesting predictions that I know you're going to want to listen to. And since I didn't get it on today, we're going to have it on the next way out there. Marilyn Monroe, was she murdered? Or was it suicide? They say it was suicide. But according to some witnesses, they say she was murdered. And by the Kennedys. We're going to talk about that on the next way out there. And we're going to talk about UFOs. We're going to talk about that one show that I was going to tell you. That one show that I was talking about earlier that was going to be on this week about the UFO phenomenon. I will be talking about that show. That's on Sunday night. I'll be recording it or checking it out. I'm gonna be having that. I'm gonna get a hold of the people too and see if we can get that guy on our show. If not, I will be playing that interview from Coast to Coast for you here on GJRB. So if you don't catch Coast to Coast on the radio, you can catch some of it right here on Way Out There on GJRB. All right, well, I'll tell you what, we're winding down to a close. I'll be back here on Monday for some great Christian worship music. Got some good songs, brand new ones, and so you want to tune in for that. It's going to be a good show. And that'll be followed up by Tuesday for some Christian rock and the Positive Rock Show, Twin Spin Tuesday. Remember, our shows are subject to change. It can change with some notice called GJRB Podcast Update, where we give you our schedule update of what's coming up on featured programs here on GJRB. That's it for this time round. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Remember, look up, keep your eyes to the skies, and let me know what you see way out there. Gary J. Rustin, have yourself a great weekend. Hope you listen to the show. Hope you listen to the podcast throughout the weekend. It's available to you along with the last 7 days and CCF church services. Until then, have a great night, everyone. So long. Have a great weekend. Bye now.
Attention, emerging bands and artists. Up and Coming is back, and on more often. I'm talking about the main show, featuring all genres. Send me your band's recordings or let me know where you're at, whether you're on SoundCloud, SoundClick, or Reverb Nation. And I will play them on Up and Coming. Listen for details on how your band can get on Up and Coming for Up and Coming podcast on GJRB's public site or live. Watch for announcements closer to the approaching air date. Up and Coming, uploaded as a podcast or live. Saturday, March 28th on GJRB. Swing Time is back this spring on GJRB. This time the spotlight shines on Harry James. A child of circus performers, he started showbiz early with a desire for music at the age of 6. His trumpet sounds were the most popular of the early 40s. Harry James story on Swing Time. Watch for it as a podcast uploaded Saturday, March 21st on GJRB's public site on Spreaker. Swing Time on GJRB. Another Radio Land coming soon on GJRB Online.